Hey guys, Matt here from Trybe 1. Today I want to talk to you about something a little bit different that's kind of off the beaten path of a lot of the things that we talk about. Now, before I get started, I want to be completely honest with you. I am personally a token holder of what I'm about to talk about. We do have a media partnership with them at Trybe. So these are really speculative assets. Be really careful with how you invest your money. This is not investing advice by any stretch of the imagination, nor is it solicitation for you to go out and purchase tokens. I think you really need to do your research. You really need to know what you're getting into, and you really need to be smart with your EOS or with your assets in general. So that being said, I want to move forward and I want to talk to you about something that I find really, really intriguing. We've seen this huge emergence of gambling dApps on EOS recently. And it really depends on how you kind of look at it. For me personally, I think that it's fantastic. And I think that it's fantastic for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it's really creating some high volume transactions, which is really giving us the opportunity to sort of battle test the software. And number two, it's doing something different with decentralization that a lot of us might not have seen before. So I'm going to talk to you guys today about endless.game. And endless.game is a new dApp, kind of an online casino that has popped up on EOS that I'm particularly fond of. I've spent a lot of time speaking to the founders, and I do like what they're doing. They were actually the first people to decentralize something otherwise known as Powerball. Some people might know it as Powerball. If you were born in Canada, such as I was, you would kind of know it as Lotto 649. But it's interesting to me because they've taken a lot of these things, such as kind of like online casinos and lotteries, and they've made it in such a way that they redistribute profits to the token holders. So I find that really fascinating. I think it's really interesting. And today I want to talk to you about one of my favorites, endless.game. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here I am at the endless.game website, otherwise known as endless.game, which is actually kind of an interesting address. And this is one of the first games that they came out with. And this is otherwise known as DICE. Now, we've seen a little bit of this throughout the ecosystem. Really basic function. You go in, you choose the level of risk that you're willing to take. And then, of course, you roll your dice, and if you come up on the right side of this little slider, you win. If you come up on the wrong side of the slider, of course, your money, your EOS rather, ends up going into a pool, and that pool gets redistributed to the token holders. So I think that that's kind of interesting. I think that the design, the UX is really neat. But the thing that I really like about the team is that they're very ambitious, and they're always coming out with new games. So if you're looking to essentially, if you were a token holder, you would click up here, you would go to the dividend pool, and every 24 hours right now, the profits are being distributed. It kind of tells you how much the payout is per 10K ET, and ET is actually the token of the endless.game platform, which you could find on Nudex right now. You would stake your tokens. Staking is immediate, and it's kind of on a time-weighted system. So if you have your token staked for an hour, you would get kind of 1/24th of the overall profit. You can click on the stake function here as well. It tells you how much you have available for stake, how much you staked. When you stake your actual tokens, it takes 24 hours to refund, and at any point you can stop them from refunding. But of course, you only get credited for the amount of time that your tokens were staked, which is kind of interesting in my opinion. Now, the second game that they introduced, and this is kind of when I really started paying attention, was Endless Millions. And Endless Millions, as I kind of stated previously, is just a quick pick where you go in, you can do one to two things. You can either choose your own numbers, or you can go to a quick pick option. And right now, I believe that the amount that you need to get a single ticket is 0.01 EOS. Jackpot is up here, currently sitting at 24.32. And it tells you the draw time. And right now they're kind of drawing every 24 hours. You can win in various ways. The amount of numbers that you get correct out of a 7-number combination is ultimately going to determine how much of the share of the pot that you get. And if you're the lucky person who gets all 7 and nobody else gets all 7, you're going to get a fair share of that pot. So again, we kind of a lot of us go out, we buy our lottery tickets once a week, and sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. I don't think you win too often, but It's just interesting here because, of course, every little bit that goes into the pot is redistributed to the holders of the tokens themselves. A really cool feature that they have on the site is they actually have a user interface built in where you can actually purchase tokens, which is kind of neat. I like it. I like the way that their site is designed. I think that the designers are really good. They really care. I've seen a lot of gambling dApps that are kind of slapped together. And I think that Endless Game is really just kind of building like a nice seamless UX that not only works, but is really visually pleasing. Another thing that I like too is that if you join them on Telegram, and I will put their Telegram below, that these guys are really interactive within the community. And they take suggestions from the token holders. There's a lot of discussion that happens within that group. And they're constantly listening. They're constantly pushing updates. And they have a really good social media presence as well. We're going to get into a little bit of their social media. We're going to go over their most recent update through Medium. But I think that they do a really, really good job of listening to the community, connecting with the community, building kind of visually pleasing designs, and really pushing the boundaries on the amount of games that are coming out. Endless has kind of said they're going to try to push out a game at least every 2 weeks. And if you know how much actual programming and design and math goes into these, that's actually a really impressive feat. Now, Endless Game also does have kind of this little chess game where you can go in and once a day, it doesn't cost you any EOS or anything like that. You can go in and you just open the chest and you stand a chance at picking up some EOS. So if you get a chance, go over to their site at endless.game, mess around with the treasure chest, and see if you can win some EOS. This, to me, is really something that Endless Game is doing well. I haven't seen so many updates and communication by any team pretty much on all of EOS, to be honest with you. I have a lot of conversations with KD. He's a very intelligent individual. That is one of the developers. And he really listens to the community, and he does a really, really good job of pushing updates on a daily basis. So if you go to their Medium, they're actually really active on Medium, and they're constantly kind of pushing updates and talking about kind of what's coming next. So I want to explore a couple of their most recent updates. As you can see, literally almost every single day, these guys are pushing something new. So let's take a dive into kind of the latest and what's happening with Endless Game. So as I mentioned, literally every single day you can see here, this one was from November 16th, November 15th, November 14th, November 13th. The team is literally pushing an update or just kind of a communication every single day talking about what they're doing. And some of the things that they're doing are really, really neat. I'm going to dig into a couple of them and just kind of summarize them here. So on November 14th, they pushed an update that upcoming changes are coming to Endless Millions. And Endless Millions, of course, is the Powerball game. We're going to change the duration of each game from 24 hours to 12 hours, which is going to make it a little bit more interesting because that pot is kind of starting to grow. They introduced a Endless Millions auto bet tool. And of course, they're constantly developing. One of the new games that's coming out is going to be a crash game. But they're also designing something that I think a lot of us have been waiting for a long time. And I think that they actually have the ability to pull it off. So one of those things is known as World War Endless and Endless Battle. And I think that these are going to be really interesting because they're actually peer-to-peer games as opposed to single games that maybe somebody would go and play themselves. Another thing that they have coming, of course, is Endless Crash, which is going to be another crash game. So they describe it here as a multiplayer betting game with an increasing curve that can crash anytime. So I really do like the fact that these guys seem to be working pretty hard and pushing a ton of games out on a daily basis. Let's take a look at the November 16th update where they're talking about some updates on Endless Millions, leaderboards, and others. This is something, as I said, that I really like about the team. They're just constantly pushing updates and they're constantly communicating with everybody. You should check out their Telegram. It's really interesting. They're always communicating with the token holders and they're really engaged in the community. And that's something that we don't really see enough of from a lot of people. So as I mentioned, of course, the duration of every game for Endless Millions, which is their Powerball, is going to be shortened from 24 to 12 hours. And it looks like they have updated the bet limits of endless.dice. So they've lowered the minimum bet from 0.5 EOS to 0.1 EOS, the maximum bet by 50%. And then they've kind of introduced an updated leaderboard system, which is going to have a leaderboard reset every 12 hours instead of 24 hours. So that is it for today, guys. That is the most recent update from Endless Game. As I said, we do have a media partnership with them at Trybe, so you can expect a bunch more movies like this and updates in the future. If you haven't checked them out, go over and have a look. Hit them up with their Telegram. Constantly coming out with new games, new updates, and really kind of staying in touch with the community. I think that it's cool. I think that it's one of my favorite kind of online casinos on EOS, and I think that they're going to do some really big things. So make sure you go check out Endless Game on EOS, endless.game, and go visit their Medium. Go hit them up on Telegram, where they're very active, and it's just kind of a cool DApp, and we're really starting to push the boundaries of what the software could be capable with the high transaction volume that we're seeing from these things. So thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to bringing you more updates about Endless Game.